Of late, there's been a lot of talk on Zimbabwe's agricultural productivity championed by the Second Republic. We have recorded a bumper harvest in terms of traditional grains. Here we're talking wheat, maize, sorghum, millet, and other grains that help us survive on a day-to-day as Zimbabweans. But what we want to find out today is the youth involvement in the country's agricultural chain. What are the country's youths doing? What part are they taking? How are they supporting the country? How are they supporting the country's vision, that of an upper middle income society by 2030? To help us with the conversation, we're joined by Nikros Kajengo. Nikros is the Chief Programs Coordinator, Agricultural Desk from the Ministry of Agriculture. We also have Engineer Bobina Morello from the Action for Sustainable Development. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
A very important discussion that we have today. We're talking about harnessing the country's food, the youth dividend in terms of the country's food security. What we want to find out first, how involved are the youths in the country's agricultural chain?
Well, I can contribute to that. So we as Action for Sustainable Development, we have created an association of youth that are both domestic and abroad. Okay. What we are trying to do is we are trying to spearhead the synergies across the country so that we involve the youth in contributing to the nation's 2030 vision of creating a sustainable economy. What we are doing, we have put in place certain programs that are mainly aimed at the youth. Right now we have a vibrant pool of youth that is more academic, that have been contributing in the academic vision. So we want to involve people from undermined sectors of the nation, mainly rural development areas, so that we reduce the pool, the current slave mill that has been progressing, whereby people are migrating from the rural areas, coming to the urban areas, leading to unemployment, whilst they are mainly people pulled in the city centers but not doing anything per se. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we reduce that urban to rural to urban migration by putting programs to the rural areas so that you get your money, you get your vision bestowed upon you whilst you are at a certain place. You don't need to migrate to a certain place so that you contribute to the economic development. So what we personally we are mainly focusing on digitalizing agriculture.
So digitalizing agriculture and making sure that we try and lessen rural to urban migration. Mr.
Exactly.
Majengo, we're talking here about Zimbabwe's agricultural chain, and we want to try and ascertain the involvement of youths in this process.
Okay, thank you very much. Under the wise leadership of our iconic leader, the President, Comrade Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, a number of strategies have been put in place in order to ensure that young people have their space in the mainstream economy. Zimbabwe, like any other country in the sub-Saharan Africa, is agro-based. And it's quite pleasing to note that the legal framework, the policy framework is clear and the ground is very level and conducive for young people to partake and to embrace agriculture. So the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development has got a thrust, has got a mandate, has got a vision. The vision is to ensure that the country is food secure. The vision is to ensure that we create employment, we promote employment through agriculture.
The creation of employment through agriculture, which is a very important point, but you mentioned earlier on that you're trying to create a level ground, and we've had a lot of youths complain, if I may to use that word, that these opportunities do not seem to be coming to them, accessing land, accessing resources. Is it for everyone? How level is this ground that you're talking about?
Thank you very much. Firstly, as a ministry, we are guided by various provisions of the Constitution, various blueprints, macro and micro. Here we are talking of, starting from the Zimbabwe Constitution. Section 20 is very clear about involvement of young people in the mainstream economy. And obviously, as a ministry, we also have come up with various measures and strategies to ensure that we leave no one and no place behind in as far as agriculture is concerned. Currently, as we are aware that agriculture is broader, it's multifaceted, it's dimensional. In agriculture, we are talking of participation through ICT, through cropping.
But how are we ensuring this participation? Maybe I want to hear from you, engineer. How are we ensuring that the ground is level? Yes, this is something that we're saying, this is the vision that we're living by as a country, leaving no place and no one behind. So what exactly is it that we're doing? Because you mentioned that we want to try and stop rural to urban migration.
Yes.
So we want to make the level ground, the ground level for everyone, right, to participate. But what is it that we're doing to ensure that we leave absolutely no one behind? Because I may be in Muzarabani, pamwe ndiri kuzumba maramba pfungwe, pamwe nditori nekamunda kangu kandakapiwa, but I just don't know what to do.
Okay, so as Action for Sustainable Development, what we have done is we are trying to create a workshop. These workshops are mainly targeted and oriented at implementing educational measures to people who are undereducated. This program is not for only academics, it's for everyone. So we are trying to, like we said, we are trying to spearhead these synergies across all aspects of the country. We are trying to go into each and every field, to each and every person in each and every dimension of the country. We are also trying to promote advocacy, gender equality in each and every field of agriculture by creating these, they are actually called, what's the name?
For what? Agro-policy.
For these agro-policies, the one like we did in Binga.
Okay, I see, okay.
Okay, we are trying to create, they are more like educational programs, but we are empowering people, land allocating programs, per se. We are creating land allocating programs to each and everyone who is underserved by the economy. The administration is actually trying its best to implement measures that will accommodate everyone. But we are focusing on the nitty-gritties.
All right.
We are focusing on the nitty-gritties. What we are trying to do is we are trying to go into each and every detail. So we are the vanguards of this economy. The youth constitute about 30% of the whole population in Zimbabwe. What we are doing is we are trying to take the helms by educating each and every one of us, even from those that are from undeserving communities per se, the communities that are more frowned upon, that are more remote and not getting access to each and every. So promoting girl childs, social works, and more stuff like that. Yeah.
So now, having established that, now we always talk about National Development Strategy 1, right? Does it include the youths? And if it does, how does it include them?
Thank you very much. And this one has got some points or goals. And one of these is youth mainstreaming. Indeed, it's a sine qua non, it's a prerequisite for any economy to ensure that its young people are catered for and are looked into if we want to attain a middle income in society. Hence, Zimbabwe has prioritized youth participation and involvement in the mainstream economy. So, as a ministry, I'm sure I'm going to unpack all the programs that have been set aside by government, programs that are currently in existence. We have got various programs which we feel the public, the nation, and the world must understand.
Okay. Maybe if you are to give us maybe one or two of the programs.
Thank you so much, my good sister. Well, government is empowering young people through various ways in agriculture. Agriculture, to me, is a poverty escape route because all avenues and synergies are centered on this economic sector. First, agriculture has got various institutions or colleges where young people can train from a diploma, HND, in the various practices and the theories of agriculture. We have got 8 colleges of agriculture where young people, just after your O-level, can enroll for a diploma or an HND or whatever. Even if they want some short courses, there is also that opportunity in the ministry. Secondly, we have got a department called ADAS, Agricultural Advisory and Rural Development Services, also called Agritechs, where young people included can also get some short course trainings, and other extension services are also provided. Currently, on the 7th of November 2022, the President launched the Provincial Youth Hubs, where young people were directed, let me use the word directed, were directed to take charge of their destiny. They were directed to ensure that they are masters of their own destiny in terms of economy. The opportunity has been given to them, and currently, the year that has gone by, we trained more than 5,000 people in various theories and practice of agriculture. And that on its own, it's empowerment. Because if you give somebody skill, knowledge, and expertise, wampa masimba, wampa upenyu, wampa gwara. So having done that...
So what are they doing after having acquired that training and that knowledge? Masimba vapiwa. Kana vaenda kudzimba dzavo, kumamisha, kuminda. Chii chavari kunoita? Pane chinobatika here chavari kuita chiri kubatsira nyika?
Thank you very much. We have got various programs. You have got your skills. What is left after having acquired skills is to take the theory into action, is to implement. Now we have got a joint venture scheme where they can partner with other farmers. They can get some piece of land, and this joint venture is approved and signed by our principals in the ministry, to avoid, some cases whereby some people have got a tendency to, should I say, to dump other young farmers of their hard-earned cash. So we are trying to protect them, because there are some legal measures
that are being taken to protect them.
Yes.
Okay.
So
now, I wanted to find out something from you, Babina, especially that you're representing the youth. In terms of, has there been a mind shift in the youths? Because in our universities now, yes, there are a lot of programs that cater for agriculture. We have an agricultural university that's there. But I just want to find out how the youth have received this, because there was a time where zvekurima you think ndezvemadhara ndezvevanhu vakuru or zvakadhakwa uri kuita university, I'm studying a degree towards agriculture, and that would be sort of frowned upon. Have we managed to have that mind shift where young people get to understand that indeed agriculture is the way to go?
As of today, we are trying to emancipate each and everyone from that kind of point of view where they are generalizing farming in terms of ways they are putting it into mediocrity. But we are trying to raise the GDP, the gross domestic capita, per capita, by exporting and importing. We reduce the import and we export agricultural goods and products that we have farmed, thus increasing the foreign currency. And so you see, we become a more paramount sector in the economy and building the economy by bringing in foreign currency more than putting it out there. So we'll be balancing the current situation whereby we have the status quo of monies that are, we cannot even have a stable rate because we cannot balance our economy. This is not on our side, but it's there on the administration side. But what we're doing is we're trying to mitigate those type of situations by bringing in foreign currency, by exporting more and importing less. So once we advise the youth and we actually guide them on, we put proper education and we encourage them to farm, they can see that this thing can pay dividends rather than actually pursuing a civil engineering job whereby you have nothing to construct.
So are you making headway in that regard?
We are probably
Do you have
making
friends or in agriculture yourself?
Yes, we have. I'm in agriculture myself.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have a farm in Zimba.
Tell us more what you do in Zimba. What do you
farm? We farm tobacco, and I'm actually encouraging people to go green on tobacco.
Okay.
So that we do not use firewood, but rather use alternative measures like coal that we reduce our carbon footprint. Because environment and climate change, they're like two peas in a pod. What we need is to go green first so that we can get more from our farming rather than I clear out the whole forest and then the next season I have nothing to process my tobacco with. So if I use coal, that means next time I can just get coal.
Okay.
And then I can use this type of alternatives. they are the ones that boost our economy, because we won't be dwindling our resources, rather we'll be boosting them.
Tell me something, in terms of agriculture, a lot of people seem to be interested in tobacco farming. I don't know if it pays that much, but that seems to be the general sentiment out there. So for one to get into tobacco farming, do I have to be within a certain agricultural region? Like, how does it work for the purposes of someone out there who may be interested in tobacco farming like you are?
Yeah, you see, the thing about tobacco is farming is all about soil samples. There are certain regions that focus on a certain type of agriculture. Some, they do animal husbandry, like the Matabeleland region and such. There are certain areas of tobacco. So you have to do your research on that, or you can contact us and we can advise you, put you in a more thorough portfolio whereby you know the do's and don'ts before you do anything, so that you maximize your profitability of farming. You have to consult people like us. That's why we are there. That's why Action for Sustainable Development is that we are the long term. We are the backbone. What we are trying to do is we want to encourage the youth to go into farming so that they don't have to parade the streets always complaining and doing stuff like that. But what we want to do is we want to educate them so that we have we retain our status of being the breadbasket of the Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I want to go back to finding out whether or not there has been that mind shift amongst the youths. Is there anything that you're doing as a ministry to encourage them in terms of taking up agricultural programs in tertiary institutions for the benefit of the country at large?
Indeed. Government has come up with various programs under what we call Rural Development 8.0 that speak to presidential programs. We have got the climate-proofed agriculture, commonly called Fumvudza.
Okay.
And it targets more than 3 million, and young people are not excluded.
All right.
They can, it's one of the avenue. Secondly, we have got other NGOs, the private sector, that have also seen it worth to partner government in supporting young people. We are working with FAO, that is working with our young farmers, either from agricultural college, from universities. FAO has got a project called Green Jobs for Rural Youth Employment, targeting young people.
Okay.
On the same note, SNV, the Netherlands NGO, is also working on the same course to ensure that the mainstreaming aspirations of government is fully realized.
Okay.
On the same note, we have got IFAD, the National Fund for Agricultural Development, is also working with young people to ensure that they mechanize, they modernize the agricultural sector. So definitely a lot is happening to ensure that young people partake agriculture. Besides inputs provision, I mentioned the issue of skills provision. Also a number of programs, young people are being prioritized. So definitely, as I mentioned earlier on, the ground is very level and conducive for youth participation in the mainstream economy, agriculture.
Now we want to look at the sustainable development goals and just try to find out where are the Zimbabwean youths in this conversation in terms of food security, particularly the Zimbabwean youths.
Thank you very much. Well, sustainable development goals, basically there are 17. And obviously all these are most of these are cross-cutting. So firstly, if you look at the SDG number 1, that speaks to poverty. Well, we are simply saying poverty is the deprivation of basic needs, where we are saying young people must get out of poverty. And it is through agriculture. As I mentioned, that agriculture is the poverty escape route. So now, looking at poverty alleviation, SDG number 1 can be realized if we take agriculture not for granted, but if we implement, government's aspirations, vision, and the programs. Secondly, the SDG number 2 talks about zero hunger, whereby we want to ensure that food security is a reality. Food security is not just having enough grain. That is not food security. Food security exists when all people at all times have got physical and economic access to food that is safe and sufficient for a healthy life. So food security has got various benchmarks or parameters we are talking of food access, food availability, you know, stability of supply. All these contribute to food security. If you go to shops, if shops are empty, then obviously we would have failed in terms of ensuring food security. So it's beyond just having enough grain.
Okay.
So now young people have got a role to play to ensure that SDG number 2 is realized. Of course, number 3, we are talking of good health and well-being, where we are saying there is a nexus that exists between food security, between agriculture, and of course, our own health and wellness or well-being.
Bobina, the alleviation of poverty, food security, one's well-being, all this catered for in our SDGs, and we're trying to find out where the youth fit in. I want to hear from you as an organization what it is that you're doing. I know this is a conversation that we're having here today, but he mentioned earlier on, even you did, that we're trying to use to digitize the use of digital platforms and what have you towards this cause. So what exactly is being done to make sure that we are part of this conversation, we're part of this process, and we help the world at large to achieve the 17 SDGs?
Okay, so what we have done as of late, we are trying to reach out to the youth, like I said, mainly below the poverty datum line, and educating them to learn how to go green. That is, we are digitalizing agriculture and farming. What we are doing is we are creating what we call e-commerce. E-commerce, we are putting it into farming, whereby we are using more digital methods that are more convenient to the environment, which later on creates sustainability. What we are doing, we are teaching them to go digital.
Other than e-commerce, what other platforms are they, you know, that we are equipping the youth with towards this goal?
Right now, our major issue as an organization is mainly on funding. We have the vision, we have the plan in place, we have the blueprints. But what we need is, once we get our funding, we have measures we want to put in place. Hence, we need the outreach and the funding to go out there and implement our measures that we are trying to do, that will mainly focus on getting economic sustainability. We want to go geo-mapping, whereby people who are into animal husbandry, they don't need to get headers or employ people who unnecessarily are diverting their resources into. We want to make sure that we put global positioning IDs on cattle, so that even if it goes beyond a certain threshold, you can get a text message that says, hey, your certain animal, this and that, is gone beyond the threshold. This technology is currently being used in Kenya, and they're using it in national parks and stuff. And we want to make sure it's domestic and we use it. That more, you divert your resources that we once allocating to people out there herding. The workforce that you were allocating to just herding cattle is being allocated somewhere that's more resourceful. You get thereby saving money and manpower. So these are the type of things we want to implement, but they need a great financial backing that you can implement them. These are not things that you can do individually. Okay. So what we are doing is we are looking at prospects. We are looking at prospects, and we are securing funds from many organizations and well-wishers that believe in our vision, so that we can aid the country in sustaining its economy.
Thank you for clarifying, because, you know, when one hears of going digital in agriculture, it sort of sounds impossible to the ordinary person. How do we employ digital strategies when it comes to agriculture? Because arikumba akanzwa kurima of any sort, ndikufunga ndofana nge ndiri mumonda, ndakabata badza, ndakabata gejo, ndine mombe yangu. So the digital strategies, are there any other than the ones that he spoke of, that can be put in place towards this vision?
Thank you very much. Let's talk of modernization. Agriculture, you know, in Zimbabwe, it's our culture. Culture is dynamic. So the methods that used to be used 100 years ago are no longer the same. So the same is applicable to our farming systems. We are now talking of the use of machinery, ICT in agriculture, like what he was trying to put across. So obviously the ministry, I'm sure you know, our president launched various programs like the John Deere scheme, the Belarus mechanization scheme. We now have got center pivot that promote irrigation. We now have got should I say state-of-the-art bore drilling machines that can drill even 10 bores within 24 hours. We are talking of modern technology that has been enhanced. So this is in sync with what this organization is doing. Is what I can say, my good sister.
Okay. So what ignites the interest or the passion in you to venture into farming, or maybe talking about you as an individual? Is it a career path? Is it a hobby? Is it something that you're doing full time?
Well, as for me, it came as sort of a side hustle, but I managed to implement my career into what I love the most. I grew up in a farming community. My mother is a farmer. She owns multiple farms, and she's more into agriculture than I was. I was more of a computer geek. But what I tried to do was I tried to implement what I've learned and put it into the field that I know the best. Even though we were forced into it, it was more branded into us. And we've always been an agricultural nation. There's nothing, nothing goes beyond that. We will always be an agricultural nation. It's what we know, it's what we'll always know. So what we do is we need to keep up with the global pace and just put it out there so that we don't have to be called that developing country that's always backward. What we need to do is we want to go to those standards and then surpass those standards. So what we're doing is we want to venture into more fields like precision farming, whereby we utilize each and every resource that we have. We use less water, we use less land, but we get more productivity. That's how we go back, like I said, to our previous moniker, the breadbasket of Africa.
So what skills can the youth employ to contribute to this value chain? I know we're talking modernization, we're talking digitization and stuff like that, but let's look at the youth arikumberengwa ariku machonyonyo ameno pasi. How does that person fit into this modernization, into this digitization that we're talking about? Thank
you very much. We are saying we are leaving no one and no place behind. Regenerative agriculture is exactly what we are preaching here, whereby we are saying these skills must be acquired by every farmer, must be imparted to every farmer, irrespective of geographical location. So the skills we are referring to are: 1, agricultural engineering skill, basic engineering. 2, we are talking of ICT in agriculture, basic ICT skills in agriculture. E-farming, like you was talking of e-commerce, e-mapping, among others. Those are basic. So we want young farmers to have a comprehension of those basic skills.
So my basic skills are arikuanikwa kopi. Tichitarisa ari muyuth ari kure.
Definitely. In line with the decentralization policy of government, almost each and every district in Zimbabwe has got a station for our ministry. We have got a department or departments in each and every district, right from the what. We have got our extension officers right at grassroots level. So those with those with passion to be trained, they just group themselves, get organized. We are ready to go anywhere, everywhere. And we have got our officers at the province and the district. They can cascade the information.
Okay. As we wrap up the program, I want to hear from you, Bobina. What are your last words to young people out there who may be interested to start farming, to get into farming, but they have no idea what to do or how to do it? Or no, maybe this is not something that I can do as a young person. It's not woke. What are your words to young people out there?
What I can just say is you need to shift your focus. This is a highly dividend-paying field of gaining revenue. You should do what your heart tells you. If you feel like you need to venture into it, you should come and you come to us, we are there to facilitate your transition, and we will help you in each and every step of the way. We are a machine, and in every machine there are many cogs. You don't need to be the major part. You just need to be there in the machine for it to be functional. If there isn't a washer or a nut, a machine, it can't function at all. It will disintegrate there and then. So what we are saying is we accommodate each and everyone in every field, in every aspect. Whether you think your field is irrelevant, it's there, it will be applicable. So just soldier on and go for it. Yeah.
Mr. Kajengo, your last words, and maybe what do you promise to young people or to the people in terms of agriculture, and anything else really that you'd want to say as a parting note?
Thank you very much. My exhortation or words of advice to the young people: first, let's take agriculture as business. Second, let's say no to drugs. Thirdly, let's cooperate, coordinate, consolidate, and work together. United we stand, divided we fall.
Thank you very much for having joined us on Inside Out today.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for having joined us on Inside Out today. We were looking at harnessing the youth dividend for food security. As a country, we've heard that Zimbabwe has recorded a bumper harvest in terms of traditional grains. Now we want to find out, are we well on our way to becoming the breadbasket of Africa like we used to? What does this mean for us as a people? And how best can youth take part in this very important process that will result in us as a country finding our position back on the global map? Until we meet again, hopefully next week, pleasant viewing.